It's time for me to give my predictions and breakdown for every single fight on UFC Fight Night. Edson Barboza versus, I almost forgot his name. Let's just refresh it. Lerone Murphy. Let me just say this. This is actually a really underrated card. All right. Now, no disrespect to Lerone Murphy, but he is honestly one of the most forgettable opponents for Edson Barboza. I think he's the smallest name Edson Barboza's taken on in a long time. But that's no slight on his skill set. He has that British style, and I'm going to talk about that British style. I should have included it in my video the other day, but I actually really like this card. It's under the radar, and I think that's because it's an Apex card, but this literally could be in front of a sold-out crowd. This is a good fight night. There's lots of good fights on here, especially the main card. And before we get into it, the timestamps, as always, are in the description. This Saturday, I am going to be streaming for both the UFC Fight Night and Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. I will be watching both at the same time. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. But without further ado, let's get into this fight night. Let's start off with the first fight of the night. Alateng versus Kleidison Rodrigues. I see a lot of people picking Alateng versus Kleidison. I'm picking Kleidison. I'm rocking with Kleidison. I've rewatched some of Alateng's fights, and I've rewatched some of Kleidison's. I don't think that Kleidison is that good. He has a suspect gas tank, and he can be taken down. The reason why I'm picking him against Alateng is because, and I could be wrong in this, because Alateng is efficient, and he's got more experience, and he's got better wins overall. He is probably one of the lowest output fighters in the flyweight division right now. And the flyweight division is a relatively high output division. I'm rewatching Alateng's fights, and I'm struggling to find him throw more than 2 or 3 punches per minute and a half. All right? He's got a shorter reach. He doesn't really overextend on anything, which can be a good thing, but because he's so low output, and I'm looking at these numbers, I'm looking at the statistics as well, we're getting at 40, 38 strikes in a 3-rounder. That's the average for Alateng. Kleidison Rodrigues, fair enough. He got beat by CJ Vergara, who's not really that great, but Vergara was putting a ton of pressure on him, and he's got a good chin, and he's pretty tough, and he's decent. Kleidison Rodrigues, in the 3-rounders where he's made it to the final bell, he's landing 80, 90 strikes. And I don't see Alateng necessarily having like that consistent 1 KO power, 1-shot knockout power in his hands. Kleidison's a decent striker. I don't see Alateng going for the takedowns. And I think that Kleidison is going to outpoint him. I think he's going to outvolume him. And I think he's going to win the decision. Alateng, he doesn't push a ferocious pace. I don't think he's going to gas out Kleidison like Kleidison kind of folded a little bit against CJ Vergara, who was putting a lot of pressure on him. And again, the output is just not there. I don't really understand why people are just unanimously picking this guy. He is good. He has more experience. He's all right. He's tough. But he just doesn't really do a whole lot. He really doesn't do a whole lot out there. He floats around, throws 2 punches per minute. I can't pick him to win this fight. And Kleidison, he's not really that proven. His best win is over Shannon Ross, who, you know, of course we know got knocked out like 5 times in a row and got cut from the UFC. He has a lot to prove as well. I'm going to rock with him in this fight due to the output. Let's get on to the next one, which is Abus Magomedov versus Warlley Alves. I was tempted to pick Warlley Alves just because of how god-awful Abus Magomedov's gas tank is. It's atrocious. It really is. But I rewatched Abus Magomedov's fight with Kyle Baraujo, and I was telling people, I'm going to rewatch that fight. I want to just see how gassed out he was in the second round because, again, you guys know just as I do, sometimes what you think happened in a fight, you've only seen it once, all right? You have some memory about what the vibe was like in that fight when you watched it 3-4 months prior, but you really have to go back and refresh to see what really happened. Abus Magomedov was staying competitive up until the 3rd round. Abus Magomedov, although the tide started to shift against him and Kyle Baraujo, and he started to slow down, he was still out here throwing some back fists and some combinations with good speed on them against Kyle, who is much more dangerous than Warlley Alves, who is now ranked. Warlley Alves is coming off of 2 losses in a row. He just got sparked out in the 1st round against Ikram Aleskarov. Abus was competitive in the second. Fair enough, he lost to Sean Strickland. He has an atrocious gas tank. He's known for gassing out. But if he's keeping it competitive against Cal Baraujo early and into the second round, and he's beating Sean Strickland in the first round and outstriking him, that means he's still dangerous early. And I do not think that Warlley Alves has enough finishing potential on the feet for me to pick him to beat Abus Magomedov, even if Abus gasses out in the third. Abus didn't get finished against Cal Baraujo, who, although he's not really known for his KOs, has some speed. He's explosive. He's fast twitch. And we just saw him get a knockout over Paul Craig. And I also don't see Warlley Alves out-grappling Abus Magomedov early. So I'm going to pick Abus Magomedov by an early TKO or a decision based on damage where he could potentially slow down in the third round and lose that round. But I'm not going to completely switch up on Abus. Again, he did get fraud checked once and for all after his last fight, or to be honest, it was against Strickland. That was the initial fraud check. I thought people were writing him off a little bit too much. I was saying, man, maybe it was the octagon jitters. He was in a big spot and he gassed out on a big stage, his second ever UFC fight. Maybe his gas tank isn't that bad after all. It actually is atrocious, but it's not bad enough for me to pick Warlley Alves to beat Abus, who still is dangerous early. He's got the long, wiry, rangy man striking style, and he can put together some dangerous combinations. So I'm going with Abus. Tom Nolan versus Victor Martinez. I'm picking Tom Nolan to TKO Victor Martinez in the first round. All right. I know Tom Nolan got knocked out in his last fight, but Victor Martinez has been KO'd by Jordan Levitt. That was the only TKO Jordan Levitt has had in his UFC career outside of the slam. Fair enough, but still, I'd rather have someone get KO'd by Nicholas Mota than someone get knocked out by Jordan Levitt. Tom Nolan had a good amount of hype coming off of the Dana White Contender Series. Fighting out of Australia, he's 6'3" with a 73-inch reach. He has a height and reach advantage in this fight. And again, he's a finisher. He's got good striking. He's got long, rangy, wiry strikes down the middle. He has decent clinch striking as well. I think he's going to get this one done. I think he's being set up with an easy opponent as well. So I'm going to go with Tom Nolan, first round TKO over Victor Martinez. On to the next one. Oumar Sy versus Tuco Tokkos. Tuco Tokkos. I'm going to pick, I don't know why this is not opening, but I'm picking Oumar Sy. Tuco Tokkos, I don't even know how he's got in the UFC, to be honest. He got knocked out on the road to the UFC against Ming Yang Zhang. No shame in that. Ming Yang Zhang is pretty dangerous. He's a big, powerful, light heavyweight. He's got good boxing. I think that Ming Yang Zhang is better than Oumar Sy, but Oumar Sy is going to have every advantage in the book. All right. Oumar Sy, I believe, is 6'4". He's very athletic. He's fast, and he has one punch KO power. Tuco Tokkos, he kind of is built like Jacob Malkoun, and he's got a bit of that Jacob Malkoun style and look too. And, he's Jacob Malkoun without the heavy pressure grappling. He's Jacob Malkoun on the feet with nothing else, which is not really that good because Jacob Malkoun is a good grappler. But Tuco Tokkos, I think he's getting folded. All right, Oumar Sy, he's kind of like a poor man's Cyril Gane, fighting out of France. Again, very athletic, dynamic. He has one punch KO power, and I think he's getting this one done. Former heavyweight. I believe this is a light heavyweight fight. So there could be the case of Tuco Tokkos taking that light heavyweight skill to him, but I still think Oumar Sy is going to pull this one off. And I think he's going to be one of the better light heavyweights. So keep your eye on Oumar Sy. On to the next one. Adrian Yanez versus poor man's, skinny man's Andrew Tate. Vinicius Salvador, all right, got sunned by CJ Vergara. And listen, it's one thing if you get beat by CJ Vergara and now you're fighting Alatengheili in the first fight of the prelims, early prelims. It's another thing if you get sunned by CJ Vergara and now you're fighting Adrian Yanez, who is a lot better than anyone Vinicius Salvador's ever fought. This is a huge step down in competition. I don't see Vinicius Salvador having the finishing power on the feet needed to get respect from Adrian Yanez, okay? Yeah, Yanez got knocked out by Rob Font, who's not known for his power, but we know Rob Font has the ability to put it on people with the boxing, all right? He's got the crafty veteran experience at the highest level of the sport, and his boxing is overwhelming. If he can put a combination on you, he is dangerous. I'm not going to think that Vinicius Salvador has the same sort of overwhelming capability mixed in with the perfect boxing that Rob Font has. to put Adrian Yanez away. And he doesn't have low kicks like Jonathan Martinez. He's a twig. Adrian Yanez, a little bit small for the bantamweight division, but he still has good boxing. And I think he's going to go out there and I think he's going to piece up Vinicius Salvador. I think he's going to rip him with body shots. And I think he's going to finish him in the second round via overwhelming TKO up against the fence. Body shots included. Ripping upstairs with a big hook, maybe a uppercut. I think Adrian Yanez is being fed an easy opponent to get back on track. The UFC likes him. The fans like him. The UFC knows what they're doing with this matchup. It's a big step down in competition. Adrian Yanez is the right pick. I think he's getting this one done. If he doesn't, then man, what a fall from grace from Adrian Yanez. But I really do believe that he will be able to pull this one off. On to the next one. What are we doing here? Honestly, what are we even doing here? Themba Gorimbo is coming in here after getting a little bit of, listen, let me just say this. God bless Themba Gorimbo. God bless his coach. I think that his coach lost a loved one, which is unfortunate, but Themba Gorimbo, he's being affected by this. Themba Gorimbo is going in here with some good emotion, I believe. And Ramiz Brahimaj is going to be the man standing on the opposite side of the cage when Themba Gorimbo's going out there to make his coach proud. I think Themba Gorimbo is knocking out Ramiz Brahimaj in the first round. First minute KO for Themba. Ramiz Brahimaj is going in there with the shit is sweet mentality. He's going in there buddy. He's going in there in awe of Themba Gorimbo's inspiring story. And I think Themba Gorimbo is going to put this man out cold. I think he's going to ambush him in the first round, knock him out cold. He's got the reach advantage. 77-inch reach compared to the 72-inch reach of Ramiz Brahimaj. Again, remember, he started off his career, this guy didn't have anything. Now he's got a couple of wins. He got a UFC bonus after that first round KO in his last fight. He's probably got a fire lit under him. He knows he's a couple of fights away from being put in a big spot. I'm picking Themba. Let's not forget, this guy has a knack for finessing his opponents. And I think he's going to go in here and finesse himself a win. I don't think Ramiz Brahimaj is the guy. I think Themba Gorimbo, he's got too much going on for him right now in his career. He cannot lose. He's trying to make his coach proud. Ramiz Brahimaj is going to get caught up in the Themba Gorimbo hype. He's going to shake his hand. He's going to be all buddy-buddy. Themba Gorimbo's not going to fuck with him. And I think he's going to absolutely mop the floor with him. Okay? First round KO, ambush from Themba Gorimbo. Catching Ramiz Brahimaj off guard. He's a fast starter. I think he's getting this one done by a TKO. Let's get on to the next one. Khaos Williams versus Carlston Harris. I'm going with Khaos Williams by first or second round KO. Picking a lot of finishes on this card. Carlston Harris is old, and I think he's overrated. I see a lot of people that are picking him to win this fight. People pick this guy to beat Shavkat Rakhmonov, and, no shame in losing to Shavkat Rakhmonov. There's no shame in that at all. I get it. Harris is a big, strong grappler. Fair enough. But guess what? He was getting beat by Jeremiah Wells. He was getting held down, taken down at will. I don't think Carlston Harris is impressive enough on the ground for me to think that he's just going to cut through Khaos Williams in the first round and sub him. It's possible, but I don't see it happening. All right? I could see him winning by decision, but this is the reason why I'm picking Khaos Williams. Harris is clunky, he's plotty, and he's sloppy and slow. Khaos Williams is fast. He has sloppy technique, but he's been out of the cage for a minute, but he's still younger. He's in his prime. I think he's going to be slightly improved. Fair enough. We weren't impressed with his performance against Rolando Bedoya. He's had some underwhelming performances. He's had fights where we all thought he was going to go in there and smoke someone with a right hand in the first, and he wasn't able to do it. But at the same time, I think he's good enough to beat Carlston Harris. I think Harris is the perfect sort of opponent for Khaos Williams to knock the fuck out. He's not elusive on the feet. He's not really that good at keeping his distance. He's going to close the distance. He's going to try to get in the clinch, and I think that Khaos Williams is going to meet him with a right hand down the middle. I think he's knocking out Carlston Harris, who's there to be hit. I think it's perfect for a wild puncher like Khaos Williams. Again, Harris, he's all right on the ground. Maybe he can pull this off by decision. I just think Khaos is going to catch him on the way in and pull this one off by KO. Harris is not dangerous enough on the feet. He's too clunky. On to the next one. Main event. British style Lerone Murphy versus Edson Barboza. What do I mean by the British style? It's the motivated by not getting knocked out style. It's the do whatever it takes to pull off a win and do whatever it takes not to get KO'd. No risks. Be as well-rounded as possible. Bring the fight to the ground. The issue is, I just don't see it yet, man. I don't see the dominance that I need to see on the ground for me to think that Lerone Murphy is going to do Edson Barboza like Khabib, Bryce Mitchell, some of these really excellent grapplers. Lerone Murphy had a close fight with Josh Kalibau, and the reason why he won that clearly, because he was getting outstruck on the feet. Lerone Murphy was getting pieced up with the boxing of Josh Kalibau, and Kalibau was shooting stupid takedowns. He's the smaller guy, he's built like a flab of fat, and Josh Kalibau's in there shooting takedowns on the decent grappler Lerone Murphy to try to like win moments, because Lerone Murphy would get him down and Kalibau would do that thing where he's like, well, I'm going to go for a takedown of my own. Every single time he would get reversed, Lerone Murphy would take his back. One of the worst displays of fight IQ I've seen from somebody last year. Josh Kalibau lost that fight more than Lerone Murphy took that fight from him. He took advantage of Josh Kalibau making those mistakes. I'm not saying that I think Kalibau's necessarily the better fighter. I'm just saying that's how the fight went. Kalibau was doing work on the feet. He was landing shots, and we just know Edson Barboza is 10 times more dangerous than Josh Kalibau. Edson Barboza is craftier than Josh Kalibau, and he has... Dude, look at his last performance, man. Edson Barboza got hurt so badly in the first round, he was almost finished, and just made all the right decisions in that fight. I can tell you exactly what happened. I've told you what happened a million times. I included him in the fucking S tier of my Crafty Vets video. Edson Barboza, he's so crafty, man. This guy can make adjustments on a fly. This guy, when it's a close round, he knows when to let his hands go in the last 10, 20 seconds to steal the round. He knows when to shoot a takedown in the 5th round when he's up on the scorecards so that he doesn't give his opponent that knockout chance, and when to empty the gas tank. I think that Lerone Murphy is going to take Edson down. I don't think he's going to finish him. It's hard to submit Edson. Khabib couldn't do it. Mitchell couldn't do it. And I'm not seeing the ground and pound needed from Lerone Murphy. Yeah, he finished, what's his name? Who'd he finish? The guy that gasses out against everyone. Makwan Amirkhani. Who out-grappled him in the first, by the way, took Lerone Murphy down and held him on the mat. And then he caught him with a knee coming up the middle in the 2nd round. I don't see him chinning Edson Barboza. It's possible. What I mean by I don't see it happening is he could do it. He's fast. He has early KOs. But I think Edson Barboza is more likely to outstrike Lerone Murphy over the course of 5 rounds than Lerone Murphy is to land the knockout shot on Edson Barboza. It's possible that he puts Barboza away. Barboza's chin has deteriorated over time. He gets rocked in his fights. He's been finished multiple times throughout his career. But I think that it is more likely that Edson Barboza survives. And if this fight goes the full distance, he has so much experience. He's got a really high fight IQ. He knows when to let his hands go. He knows how to make the adjustments. If it's hard to find the chin of his opponent, then he's going to start ripping to the body. And Edson Barboza can even shoot a takedown as well. He can even mix things up like that. I think he's going to frustrate Lerone Murphy, and I think he's going to win on damage. And again, I just don't see Lerone Murphy outpointing Edson Barboza. All right, so if Lerone doesn't finish him in the 1st round or the 2nd round by a KO, I don't see his grappling being consistent enough and dominant enough to take down Edson Barboza every single time. All right, every single round. I think Edson outstrikes him. I think he outpoints him. And I think he beats him to a decision. So I'm going to predict a 49-46 for Edson Barboza. Again, Lerone Murphy's fast. He can find the right shot early, but I just think that Edson's going to be able to go into this fight with a safe game plan. He's had a good amount of time off as well. And again, like these Brazilians that get old, he still has his speed. I don't know what it is about these guys, but, you know, Barboza's what, 38 years old? He's still fast. And he's still dangerous. If Lerone Murphy starts to tire out, Edson's going to stalk him down and finish him by TKO with a spinning kick to the body or some shit. So I'm going with Edson Barboza by decision or a late round stoppage. Again, Lerone Murphy, he's having close fights with Josh Kalibau, and he's not even looking that great in those fights. And he's got Kalibau in front of him making colossal mistakes over and over and over again. Whereas Edson Barboza's out here and he's beating Sadiq Yusuff by decision in the craftiest, highest fight IQ way possible. And he's knocking out Billy Quarantillo, who also is a little bit more dangerous. Maybe he's not more dangerous as far as knockout power goes, but Billy Quarantillo, he's a gritty, scrappy fighter. And, you know, you can't let that guy overwhelm you. Edson Barboza is in some danger if Billy Quarantillo gets him into the third round, right? But Barboza's on a 2-fight win streak. I think he's pulling this one off, and he's going to really catapult his name up there. I know he's calling out Max Holloway. I think the fans are going to give him a lot of support after this one, now that he'll be on a 3-fight win streak. So, Edson Barboza by decision. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Until next time.